Inclusion means that not only does everyone have a seat at the table, but everyone's voice is heard.
Having all voices present and then using those voices and experiences to enact change.
Inclusion means being thought of as a worthwhile, valued member of society.
Inclusion is everything to a person with a disability.
People with disabilities face obstacles to inclusion in transportation, housing, education.
The biggest issue that the disability community seems to be facing is a lack of access.
A lot of careers aren't necessarily geared toward our skill sets.
Social isolation. That's a big problem with people with disabilities.
Isolation from resources and isolation from their own family members.
The Ann Arbor Center for Independent Living is a disability rights and advocacy organization.
Independence is really not a one-size-fits-all model, and it looks different to everybody.
The Center for Independent Living is all about advocating for people with disabilities.
Helping people with disabilities live their best life the way that they choose.
An outlet for guidance and support.
The CIL stands for inclusion.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Today Show Detroit. I am Zach Damon, here with Alex Gossage, the Executive Director of the Ann Arbor, Livingston, and Monroe Centers for Independent Living. And, Alex, you touched on a great point right before the break, just about how important it is to have that supportive community and be able to take advantage of those resources. So speaking of that, what would you say right now are some of the best resources that the Center for Independent Living offer?
I think so. Any Center for Independent Living offers services that I guess would evolve or revolve around what we call our core services. And those core services are peer support, independent living skill development, community transition, advocacy, and information and referral. And so really all of the things that we do, I think, stem not only from our mission, but having those core values and I think more importantly, or most importantly in my mind, is that our organization, our CIL, as well as all of the other Centers for Independent Living, are required to be or should be organizations that are a majority people with disabilities. And they're a majority both on staff as well as on the board, and that there's a spectrum of disabilities, because I think we do recognize there are a lot of organizations and agencies out there that do a lot of different things and support the disability community in a lot of different ways. And sometimes there's a very narrow focus, but I think having a broader focus is a good thing, is a better thing. It's a harder thing, but I think it's the right thing.
Absolutely. And, I had a question for you too, Alex, because, it's just great. You oversee Ann Arbor, then you oversee, Monroe, and you also oversee Livingston. So how does one guy oversee that?
It's not just me. So the programs you mentioned earlier, all of the work that has been done at the Center for Independent Living, it's always groups of people, and it's groups of people with and without disabilities, but it's work that's being led by people with disabilities. We have over 30 staff members working amongst our 3-county region here in Ann Arbor. And again, we also have our partner Centers for Independent Living around the state of Michigan who are serving their own service areas. But we do collectively come together on important topics, important policies, advocacy work, things of that nature. So it isn't me. It's never just me. It's like any nonprofit organization or non-governmental organization. It's the staff that you're able to have, but it's also the volunteers. It's the community support. All of those things. It's never as simple as one person. It's always a complicated thing with resources coming from many different directions, whether that's time, talent, or money.
Absolutely. And of course, being a big football fan for the University of Michigan, I'd like to quote the great Bo Schembechler and say, the team, the team, the team. Because as you said, it's all about that good team that's around you. And, you bring up a great point too, because you talk about how individuals with disabilities are professionals as well, and they're working with you, doing great professional work. I think it's interesting too that, I've seen a nice big push in the professional sector, uh, looking to hire more individuals that are skilled, but just happen to have a disability. Have you noticed, more success in that, or is there still work to be done?
I think there's work to be done, and I think there's work to be done in all areas of our communities, of our society, so that people with disabilities do feel like and are, I think, more involved, more valued members of our communities, whether that's them working and the satisfaction they may get from employment, or the satisfaction that they get from participating in activities with their neighbors and their friends, and so on and so forth. So I think there are changes that have been made. I think it's slow. It's always slow. There's
Right.
and it's been 31 years since yesterday that the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed,
Hmm.
and I know that I would not be uh, misspeaking by saying that there's a lot of work yet to be done. What to not only to, I think, honor the intent of the original language of the Americans with Disabilities Act, but to go beyond it, to make sure that folks understand the things that our rights are those things that are highly valued, and that we are not at that same place right now as people with disabilities in terms of the opportunities that we may have in our communities.
I couldn't agree more. And folks, we're going to have more with Alex Gossage right after this.